Hey everybody, thanks for joining us for Asher's Journey Part 1. We're super excited to be doing this, and we're excited to share his story, Asher's story, a little bit about SMARD to bring some awareness. Now, just to start things off, what this video is, a couple of things. First things, our son, Asher, he has a extremely rare neuromuscular disease called SMARD 1. It's got multiple names, but it stands for spinal muscular atrophy with respiratory distress. So we're gonna be talking a lot about SMARD, and some of the things that happened, and finding out that he had SMARD. It's a long journey, and there's a lot of details that I don't think a lot of people know about. Another reason why we're making this video is we want to help, or hopefully help, somebody who may have a child who has just been diagnosed with SMARD and they have no idea what to do. As the case we were in, we had no idea what to think, what to do, how to react. There's not a lot of resources on SMARD, so we hope that maybe this video can be a resource for somebody that may need it. But yeah, there's gonna be a lot going on. We're gonna try to have follow-up videos once a month, to follow Asher's journey, and so you guys can see some of the progress that he's making. And he get to be a part of a gene therapy, which we'll talk more about in this video. But so we hopefully will see some positive strides, which we already have. And he is 7 months old.
Another thing why we wanted to do this video is just to tell his whole story, like Trent said, because I know we've shared a little bit on social media, but not the full picture, I guess. And another thing is that we're big believers in the Lord, and Asher has such a story of redemption and perseverance, through me and Trent fighting for him, and through Asher just being a strong little boy. So just as believers in the Lord, we want to encourage people to not give up, even though this has been the hardest thing me and Trent's ever been through. God's with you in that, and never leaves you, and just the good things that can come out of the most terrible thing ever. So it's another big reason.
So we'll get started on this beautiful boy's journey. So let's start off. I think a big part of diagnosing SMARD is at birth.
Yeah.
They don't have the most normal birth.
No, or pregnancy. So Asher in the womb was very not as active.
To a point. He was for...
Oh, yeah, he was. And then I used to blame it on I'm busy with our 3-year-old daughter. I don't have time to sit and film kick as much. That's just kind of I guess denial in a way. There's nothing wrong with my kid. And he was also born 5 pounds, which when he came out, we had a healthy 8.5 pound girl. And when he came out at 5 pounds, we thought, oh my God, is he okay? Because our daughter was huge, especially for a little girl. So we thought this guy would be big. And what else, Trent?
So when he was born,
he could breathe fine.
He could breathe fine. He had no hair on his head, which was strange, but I guess that is common in babies with what's it called, infant growth restriction.
Yeah.
Which he technically had, because his growth was restricted.
And his placenta in the womb was tiny, half the size of our daughter. So just a weird pregnancy, a healthy pregnancy. Nothing was wrong with me.
Oh, no amniotic fluid.
Yeah, no amniotic fluid as well. It was just something weird going on in there. But from the look outside, everything was totally normal.
Yep. Heart rate was good.
Yeah, my blood pressure was never weird. No diabetes, like nothing was wrong, so to speak. So he was born on February 23rd. He spent 4 days in the NICU because he was so tiny. His temperature was really low, and he didn't have enough blood sugar. So he spent 4 days in the NICU. His breathing was fine. His X-ray looks good. Everything seemed normal. So we went home. We were home for about 2.5 months. Those 2.5 months were great.
Mm-hmm.
Huge adjustment for us as a family, just having another kid, but they were great. He was growing really healthy and good for the first 2 months. And then at the beginning of May, things kind of got weird.
Yeah, they took a weird turn.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. It wasn't something that kind of lingered. It just happened out of nowhere. Yeah, it was actually my last day of school, because I'm a teacher and a coach. It was our last day of school before summer, thankfully, which plays a big part in the staying in the hospital this summer. But I know that chicken. But May 17th is a Friday. Maddie noticed that he was kind of breathing funny.
Yeah. I woke up to nurse him in the middle of the night. It's like early morning, and he was just like acting so weird. He like fell asleep really fast after he nursed, and then was like almost like arching, going like that to his neck.
He did that a lot too.
He did that a lot because he had reflux. But looking back, it was probably just a weakness, not making him be a good nurser.
Yeah.
And so I laid him down, and I was like, something just isn't right with this kid. So I put the owlet sock on his foot, and his oxygen was like 78, 79, which obviously is supposed to be at 100 or near 100. And I was like, there's no way it could be right. Like, he looks fine. He's not blue. Like, he looks normal. And then I turn it off, kind of like reset it, put it back on. It's like 82. So it barely moved. And so I was like, okay, his oxygen is super low. Call the doctor. She tells us to go to the ER. Trent meets me at the ER with him. And they do an X-ray. They say, oh, it looks like he has pneumonia.
Yeah. Nothing serious. Nothing too serious.
Nothing too bad. Has he been coughing? And we're like, no.
He never coughed.
He's never coughed. Just because of the weakness. So we were like, he has pneumonia? It didn't sit right with me.
Yeah.
It didn't sit right with me.
From the beginning.
From the beginning. So we got admitted to St. Francis Children's Hospital, which we love them. We love St. Francis, everyone there. All the PICU team, the Children's Day Hospital nurses, we love everyone. We get admitted there, just the regular floor for respiratory. And they start antibiotics.
He's on less than a liter. He's on like half a liter of oxygen.
Barely any oxygen he needs.
So they're not really worried.
They're not too worried about him. And then they start him on antibiotics to treat the pneumonia, and no antibiotics are working. He also tested positive for rhinovirus too.
And he's also still not coughing anything out.
And he's not coughing.
He's on breathing treatments.
Acting wheezy or anything that looks like scary, like pneumonia.
No fever.
No fever. It was so weird. So he also had rhinovirus, which is like a common cold. He had that last week again. So they're switching antibiotics, IV antibiotics. There's a lot of like changes and things they're trying to figure out.
Yeah, because I think at around day 6, the antibiotics should have been working.
Yeah.
And his lung really wasn't clearing up.
Yeah.
And looking back at the x-rays, his diaphragm was elevated.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody just thought anything of it.
Yeah. Which we'll get into that. But the right diaphragm being elevated is a symptom of SMARD. So all of this makes total sense after we got a diagnosis. But during this time, it was super scary. We were devastated. Rosemary's never had an ear infection. Like, she's never been sick. Never a sick child.
She's had COVID. That's it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anything
serious. Little stuff, but nothing like
hospital worthy.
Hospital, yeah. So we were scared to death. Just felt terrible. I had to quit nursing him, which was horrible for me. Obviously, Rosemary's being kept by Trent's parents and my parents. So that was sad being separated from her. It was just rough up there. Rough 7 or 10 days up there.
Yeah.
And talk about what led us down to the PICU.
Yeah, so I think around day 8 or 7, when they really started wondering why the antibiotic wasn't working,
Yeah.
they started doing a blood gas test, which was testing his CO2, his oxygen, his bicarb, his pH in his blood, just to see what was going on inside the lungs. So one of the first initial scares that was kind of brought up was interstitial lung disease, which is a devastating diagnosis.
Kills you.
And we they told us not to look it up, and we looked it up, obviously, because that's what parents do, and we were really freaked out by hearing that. And as we were in so the blood gas came back, his CO2 is super high. The first time it was kind of moderately high, and they were like, oh, maybe he has interstitial lung disease. His lungs aren't working properly. And then,
and what high CO2 means is he's getting the oxygen, he's not pushing the CO2 out. Yeah, he can't exhale correctly.
It's a very shallow exhale.
Yes, so it's
very not powerful.
Yes, so it's making it build up in his blood. So that's what that means, which is scary because it can eventually make you. It's like poison. It can poison you, right?
Yeah, pass out.
Yeah, pass out and just be unresponsive. So they're like, oh my gosh, we still don't know what's wrong with your baby, but we're gonna send you down to the PICU, which is the pediatric intensive care unit. So we get sent to the PICU, which is obviously super traumatizing as well, because now not only are we in the children's hospital, now we're in the intensive care.
Yeah.
And so we're like, what is going on with him? What's happening? So we get down there, they run more tests, of course, and they come back with, the ram cannula.
Yeah, when we first got down there, they put him on something called the ram cannula. I think I said it right. I could not.
Yeah.
But it's like oxygen they put in your nose, but they ramp it up, and they put a lot of pressure trying to push off that CO2.
Yeah.
So it's pushing air rather than just a flow of oxygen. It's just push,
ram.
push. They're dodge ramming his nose.
Yep.
And that didn't work. It worked a little bit, but then it came right back up.
Yep. And the doctor, Dr. Flo, we love him. He came in and he goes, well, we don't know what's wrong, but we don't want Asher to get poisoned, obviously, so we're going to have to intubate him. And we thought, what the crap's intubation? And
you said incubation at first.
We thought it was incubation, like a chicken
an egg
getting warmed up in an incubator. It was intubated, like tubing.
Big tube in his lungs.
Yeah. So heavily sedated with the tubing down to his lungs, and it's breathing for him. So the tubing's connected to a ventilator. So he's on a ventilator, intubated.
On fentanyl.
On fentanyl and all the sedation and pain medicine and all kinds of drugs. And we thought, oh my God.
What is happening?
The worst day of my life. That was May 25th. So we get to the hospital May 17th. By May 25th, he is intubated in his little medical timeout. Dr. Flo called it.
Yeah.
So he's intubated on May 25th.
Still thinking it's just pneumonia.
Yeah, still thinking like he just needs to rest and let his lungs heal. So how many days go by? A few days go by?
A week.
A week goes by?
He was on it for a week.
Okay. A week goes by and they go, okay, let's try to extubate him.
He's doing everything right. He's breathing on his own.
He looks great. His lungs cleared up, whatever. They try to extubate him and he fails. So I'm holding him. He never opened his eyes. Crying, just weak as crap and just like miserable. And I was like, oh God. So that didn't go well. So they go. He was probably breathing on his own for like an hour, hour and a half. And then they say, we're sorry, he's struggling. We got to put him, re-intubate him. So then they re-intubate him, which can cause damage to like your airway because they're shoving artificial tubing down his throat into his lungs. So it's just not ideal, and it was just a nightmare. So they re-intubate him, and they say, "We'll try again later. He's just not ready. Not a big deal. Like some kids just aren't ready." So how many days go by after that?
It's a week.
A
They would
week.
only go a week and then try every week.
Okay. Yeah, because he's on it for 3 weeks total, I believe. Yeah.
And at this point, they're starting to.
They're running all the tests during this time.
Yeah. They're doing
Every
spinal
test.
taps, CTs, MRA, MRV, MRI.
Echoes, EKG on the brain. Like there's
All the different neuromuscular
all
diseases.
the stuff. Yeah.
Because they're kind of leaning towards neuromuscular disease at this point because he is showing signs of floppiness at this point. Like
Yeah.
just, but they didn't know if it was because, I mean, he still was lifting his legs up, lifting his arms up.
Yeah.
But just very little, not a lot of weight put on, not handling feeds the best.
Yeah. Reflux and just weakness in the central area of his
Yeah.
body. And
Yeah, there's a couple of things that happened when they would extubate him. He would really use these muscles up here
Yeah,
to
like,
breathe. And that kind of led them to do a bronchoscopy, and they wanted to see his
Airway.
airway, and everything looked great. And again, you know, great news, but at the same time, they want to know what's wrong.
yeah.
So they keep on digging deeper. You know, SMA came back negative. But while we're on that topic, SMA and SMARD are different. Before I move any further, so we don't forget, because this is important.
Yeah,
SMA.
Asher does not have SMA. I know when we posted his diagnosis, which we'll get there in a second, a lot of people reached out and was like, "Oh, I have resources for you." When Asher has an ultra rare disease, like 60 people in the world, probably 100 by now, that have had it in different different how the symptoms onset
Similar
is
symptoms,
different.
but yeah. Okay, so anyways, negative for SMA, negative for myasthenia gravis, muscular dystrophy, all of them coming back negative. And you know, the neurologist came and visited with us, and he was great too. But he was in the realm of neuromuscular disease, just not knowing which one.
Yeah.
And he also was supportive of sending out a genome panel which checked every gene.
Yeah.
That's about where we're at now.
Yeah. So, in between all of these tests, we try to extubate him a second time. Yeah.
No, we already did a second. We're on the third.
Or the third time.
Third time, and they did a sniff test while he was getting extubated.
Yes.
Which is a live action X-ray.
Yes, a live X-ray.
And this is where they found
This is where they found his diaphragm
issue.
not
Dr.
working.
Barb.
So then they say, oh, he's weak. That's why he can't breathe on his own and exhale that CO2 because his diaphragm is like boop, boop, boop,
Barely
when
moving,
it's supposed to be a
super
full
elevated.
muscle. Yeah, it was just his right one was really screwed up. So they have extubated him. He's doing the same thing, closing his eyes, crying, just like miserable. This time around, though, we were kind of prepared for the worst, obviously. So he was probably extubated 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes, and then I just said,
No.
put it back. Like,
Because he's on the ramp cannula at that point,
yeah,
too.
I said, put him back. He's miserable. Like,
He did not open his eyes.
wouldn't open his eyes. They threw him on his little belly to see if that would help him breathe better, and it was just awful seeing your baby struggle to breathe. So I said, nope, intubate him again. And they intubated him again, and that was the third time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they intubated him again for the third time.
In the final.
In the final time. So he's intubated for another week. And around that time, so this will be 3 weeks now that he's been intubated on a vent. Around that time, they say, okay, this is not good to be intubated this long. Obviously, he's on all these drugs as well. So we need to think about our options, which would be a trach. And that is what your little brother has.
Saved his life.
Saved his little life, his little trach. And we never had to think about it. It was just like, yeah, I want my baby to be awake and happy and, you know, growing and thriving. So we were like, yes, let's trach him.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing with the trach, a cool story that I had, we told the doctors yes, and then I was like, I'm still gonna pray about it and make sure this is what we're supposed to do. So that night I was in the shower and I was just like, Lord, is this what Asher needs? Does he need a trach? Is this the right move? And I just felt the peace of God come over me, and I just knew, yep, my baby needs to be trached. So the surgery was how many days after we decided, Trenton?
I mean, it was like 2
Yeah, it was not long at all.
or 1.
Yeah.
It was immediate.
Yeah, it was
much.
pretty quick. So he got trached. That surgery was great.
Mm-hmm. No issues.
No issues. On the hospital's vent by then. And that same day he's trached, which is June 7th. So May 25th, intubated for the first time. June 7th,
Trach.
he gets trached. That's also the day that they say we've exhausted like all options on what's wrong with your son. So now we're gonna have to look at all of you guys' genes. So they did a genome sequencing panel on us, me, Trenton, and Asher. So, you okay, Bobby? So,
He had a little spit from his beak.
they take our blood that day, the same day Asher's trached, and by June 20th, so that was the June 7th, on June 20th, they tell us, okay, your baby has SMARD. And kind of tell them how they told us, Drew.
Yeah, so we were just in the hospital limbo for a while after he got trached, just waiting to see. There's not really any more tests they would do other than blood draws and checking his blood gas, and so we were kind of just in that waiting period, and we were pretty sure nothing was wrong majorly. We still just thought, okay, he's a little guy and he had infant growth restriction and pneumonia has just kicked his butt, and his diaphragm is just some freak thing that happened, and they'll fix it, or he'll outgrow it. And but unfortunately, on what was it? What's the name?
June 20th.
June 20th, at about 6:30 a.m. I woke up and I saw that we had a miscellaneous test, is how it was labeled, and it was his gene panel. And I'm leaving out a major part though. The day before we found out, I went back and I read the notes from our neurologist, and he had discussed SMARD being a possible. How he knew about it, we have no idea.
No,
he said he heard about it at some clinic.
Yeah, I asked him. I was like, "How do you know about this ultra rare disease? And how are you so smart to have guessed it?" And he said he heard it at some
clinic
that
Yeah.
he went to.
And I knew all about it because I was like, there's one disease on here that I have not looked at, because I looked at every disease, DMD, muscular dystrophy, all of them.
All of them, Prader-Willi.
Prader-Willi, like every disease I looked into, and I skipped over SMARD because I thought it was SMA, and I knew he tested negative for SMA, and little did I know I was way wrong. I looked it up, and every detail of symptoms he had, unfortunately, I knew. And Maddie, I think, knew because I shared it with her that night before we found out about his diagnosis, that that's what he had. And I was almost like I couldn't sleep that night because I knew. And then I woke up and we got the test results, and it told us the gene mutation and IGH-MBP2, and it was a very, very, very hard day. Diagnosis day is what they call it.
Yeah, terrible. It was horrible. You think watching your baby get intubated and struggle to breathe, but then you get a SMARD diagnosis, and it's like
13 months to live.
Yeah, you first Google it, of course, and you're like, huh? Because we would look at neuromuscular diseases and be like, oh, thank God he doesn't have this one, it kills you, or thank God that one's deadly, or that one, I hope he has like cerebral palsy at this point because he'll at least live a little longer. And then we got this one, and it said, oh, if you don't get trached,
13 months.
13 months to live. Which at Asher's rate he was going, he would have died a lot sooner.
He would have died at
He would have died
a week. Probably after he started breathing weird.
If I wouldn't have taken him into the hospital or looked at his oxygen, he could have died within days of being at home. So, yeah, I absolutely agree that this is these children's lifespan. So, but he's already trached at that point. So we had hope because he was trached. And then the only treatment there was on, like, when you Google, is PT, OT, speech, like things that make him comfy, like things that make him keep using his muscles. So it was devastating, to say the least, because that's your baby.
And it's a progressive disease, so it gets
Yes.
worse over time.
Yep.
And yeah, we kind of were depressed that whole day.
Mm-hmm.
But Maddie's got a story she'll tell.
Yeah.
So what'd you do?
Should I tell? When should we stop?
I think we should finish the hospital. No.
Hospital stay?
No. We'll stop. We'll end on a good note.
Okay. So that day, we're obviously devastated and just distraught. And I was like, okay. I joined a trach support group on Facebook. I wonder if there's a SMARD one. And there was literally one, because this disease is so rare. So I requested to join it. And then I had someone message me, Katie messaged me on Facebook and was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, your son was diagnosed. My daughter has SMARD. I'm gonna get you in contact with Brittany Steinman. And Brittany is our angel. We love her. So that same day, I get in contact with her. She FaceTimes me immediately. Because if you think about it, with this ultra rare disease, they're not diagnosed weekly or monthly. Like
Yearly. Like every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
type of thing.
Yeah, it's not diagnosed every other day.
And that's one
It's
place
super
in
rare.
some random America,
Yes.
like Tulsa.
Yes. So I FaceTime Brittany. She tells me, oh my gosh, there's a clinical trial going on for a drug to treat SMARD. And you're just like, what? Like, amazing. Like, amazing. And they're looking for one more spot to fill. And
They want a baby.
And they want a baby. So that's Asher. So we get, what do we do after that, Trenton?
We got in contact with
Yeah, we got in contact
the
with,
hospital.
from Brittany. Brittany got us in contact with them, and they immediately told us no.
Yep.
Because he was already tricked. He's already too far gone.
And he's moving all his body parts and toes and
Yes.
head and
Yes, he's still moving. Good. And they decline us, and
we are
devastated again. Again, like, worst day ever, June 7th. No, that's June 20th, sorry. We got the diagnosis June 20th at that point. So June 20th, worst day ever. And so
You go to bed?
I don't sleep. No, I don't sleep,
I did.
remember?
I was depressed. I would sleep.
Yeah, I could not sleep because I was so sad. So that morning,
4 a.m.
June 21st, the next day, like 4 a.m., I thought, screw this. I am not taking no for an answer. My baby will live, and we'll have a happy life, and we'll get treated. So I decided to post on Facebook and just ask for, with the help of Brittany. Brittany helped me do all this. And I just posted on that post on Facebook of Asher and just told him what he's diagnosed with, and I wanted to get the local news stations involved. And I think that's where we'll stop. Let's stop there, Trenton.
Yeah. Yeah, she woke me up at 4 a.m. She was like, hey, I'm going to post it on Facebook. And I was like, whatever. Not thinking anything of it. And then she wakes me up at 8 a.m. She goes, hey, the news is going to text you in about 30 minutes.
Hey, the news is interviewing us at 4. It happened so fast. And it couldn't have happened without everyone on Facebook supporting us and loving Asher and loving us. Like, it couldn't have happened.
Yep.
And this whole time, you're thinking, Lord, do you hate us?
Yeah, whole process.
What did we do wrong to you? I've served you. I've given my life to you, and me and Trent are good parents and love our children, and
Love
you just
you.
yeah, love you, and you just question so many things go through your head that are like you're just so angry. And Asher has such a cool story when it comes to like faith and God's plan for him, because it's unlike any story I've ever heard of. So, and we, like, as parents, we lived it, I know, but it's such a cool story. And
Yeah, it gets really cool.
yeah, a story of,
And the next video is going to be
yeah,
a lot more positive.
yeah. Right now it's really sad, and we were devastated. And we're able to talk about it now because we both go to therapy for the trauma. So we're able to talk about it and be okay. But it's not like it. Parents, yes.
Very hard.
Parents with medically complex kids who I can't just walk my baby around the house anymore. I can't nurse my baby. I can't put him to sleep. I can't just carry him to bed and put him to
the
sleep.
car and go
Take
to
him.
the store.
He's connected to machines at all times. So just getting out, if you see a parent with a disabled child or medically complex child with medical stuff around them, that mom or that dad did a lot to get the child out. And me and Trent just have a whole different perspective on God, on parenting, on children with disability and medical needs. So this whole experience has opened our eyes so much, and we're sad, and then we're thankful, and then we're sad, and then we're thankful, because he very well could be dead and not alive right now. So it just depends, and that's okay. That you can be thankful and sad at the same time. It's okay.
It's okay to.
And I like in therapy yesterday, I processed like it's okay to feel both emotions, and God can take this heavy sadness and make it light. It's not gonna go away, because this is our reality, and I love my baby, and I don't leave him but 3 hours a week to go to therapy and like go grocery shopping. But this is our life, and God can make that sadness so light, and it's like just a covering, and it's there, and it's gonna live in us and be a part of us. That sadness, but it doesn't have to be bad. You can just go in the ebbs and flows of when it presents itself and how it presents itself. So yeah, that is
Part one.
That is part one of Asher's little journey so far, of how he got in the hospital, what happened all in the hospital, to being diagnosed. So next time we'll start with the day after I posted the news. The day after. Let's do the day after I posted to Facebook.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah. Thank you.
Stay
guys.
tuned. If you ever have any questions, you guys can always reach out to us and ask. We love talking about our little man.
We love that he smashed SMARD.